Welcome to the 28th Annual Art in Pilar's Garden, an online event live from Pilar's Garden. Brought to you by the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation. Tonight you'll be able to experience the magic of Pilar Pobil's home and garden virtually, with the opportunity to view and purchase works from 9 local artists. Thank you for your support and generosity. Now, sit back and enjoy art in Pilar's garden.
Hi, and welcome to Art in the Garden, in Pilar's Garden. I'm Monica Whalen, president of the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation. And my co-host tonight is none other than Pilar Pobil.
Welcome to my house, and welcome to my garden. I am sorry that I cannot open the house, but that's the way it is right now.
And we are coming to you on YouTube Live, so please use the chat function that you see at the bottom of your screen to send us messages or questions. Tell us where you're joining in from. We'd love to see how far and wide we can spread this show. I want to give a special shout out to our amazing technical crew who helped pull this whole thing together. And we will also be hearing on the other end of the camera, you'll be hearing a voice from Katie Smith, one of our wonderful volunteers who decided to get involved with the foundation to help us preserve and promote Pilar Pobil's legacy. What you can do for us tonight is help our mission, which is to preserve this beautiful home and garden and all of the art within it, to save it for future generations and the community at large. Plus, the foundation brings you many youth education activities as well as community outreach programs. You can help support us by going to our website, which is pilarpobilegacyfoundation.org, and make a donation. That's also where you will find a special page called Art in Pilar's Garden. Click on that tab, click on that page, and you'll find the fabulous online art catalog that has all of the wonderful art that has been prepared by our artists, guest artists for tonight, and you will be able to peruse and buy the art through that link. Again, that's pilarpobilegacyfoundation.org. Also tonight, what we have in store for you, besides witty conversation between Pilar and I, is appearances from all 8 of our guest artists, 2 musicians, and a tour of the inside of Pilar's house. So it promises to be a very fun evening. Pilar, this is a little bit different than in years past, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. In the last 30 some years, 28 every year, I have never had art in the garden being by ourselves here in the garden, you know.
I know. Usually it's you and I and 300 of our closest friends and neighbors. Tonight is just you and I. Let's cheers to that.
Let's cheer. We do the best we can.
We're doing the best we can. That doesn't stop us from having fun, does it?
No.
Well, you certainly have a lot of people joining you online, really wishing they were here with you.
We'll tell them that we wish they were.
We wish all of you well, absolutely, like Pilar says. We have, unsurprisingly, some of the artists that we're featuring. Polly Plummer says she wishes she was here lighting the candles.
Hi, Polly.
Steve Sheffield says, hello, dear Pilar.
Steve.
Yes, and then we have some other people chiming in. Jerry Jones says, hi, Monica. Hi, Pilar.
Hi, Jerry.
Among a lot of other well-wishers who just think that they wish they could be here in person, but this is the next best thing.
Absolutely, and we want to make it a fun and enjoyable evening for you. So without further ado, we'd like to kick off tonight's entertainment with a tour of Pilar in her garden. Thank you.
I was born in Spain, and I lived in Mallorca until I came to America, you know. When I came here, almost 2 years later, we bought this house, and we moved here. And I immediately started changing the house and doing things to the garden and everything. And it was a wonderful experience because I always have loved to garden and to paint and to do all this stuff. In Spain, you see art everywhere, in the streets and everything. In Salt Lake, you see the beautiful mountains, but the city doesn't have art in the streets. So that was the beginning of ideas, you know. And one day I had the idea of opening my gardens because they asked me to contribute to the Gilgal Gardens, letting them people come to see my garden and paying something for them to use as money to restore the Gilgal Gardens. So they came and they were always looking through the windows, and they told me, you cannot let them in the house because we don't have insurance for that. But I saw them looking into the windows and pointing at things. So that gave me the idea that if I had an art show in my garden, people would love to come and see the show. People didn't have the opportunity to see art in Salt Lake, in Utah. And so that was the idea. For 30 years, you know, the thing that happens, we immediately, even the first one that we had was a big success. We had about 80 people every day, 3 days. And the artists sold stuff and everything, and of course, they didn't have to pay any commission to me, which was great for them. And my garden has become a place for the city to do things that are good for different kinds of people. Help different groups of people that are marginalized in this country, you know, like Latinos, like different color of skin, like you know, LBTG people, whatever. I mean, to me, everybody's an individual, and women, you know. I have been a big supporter of women because women, like not just in America, but in so many countries, like Spain, you know, and women didn't have the permission to do anything, you know, and these things have stayed with me all my life. So I have wanted to fight for the people that needed to be fight for. I'm very sorry that this year, for the first time in 30 years, we don't have art in the garden in June, open to the artists and to the public. So we are going to have a different way where the artists will have to come one at a time, bring several paintings here. They will talk, they will express opinions and maybe sell some painting. It would be wonderful for the artists to sell some paintings because artists also need to make a living and buy their materials. So it would be great if they can do that. And they are very grateful to think that still the garden is for them, and that I am sorry that they cannot enjoy it in the same way that it could have been done all the years. But this is the way it is.
Yes, please support these artists. COVID is a hard time for artists, and you can support them by going to the online art catalog on our website and finding a wonderful piece of art that belongs in your home. Not only are you helping the artist, but you're helping support the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation, a not-for-profit arts organization based here in Salt Lake City. A percentage of the art sales helps go to support our mission. The link to the art catalog is in the description of the YouTube video, but you can also just go to the website, Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation.org, click on the Art in Pilar's Garden tab, and find it there. Pilar, one of the things that you said in that video, and that I know from working with you, is how important human rights and speaking your mind is to you.
Absolutely.
Well, so tell me, how is it that you use your art to express your opinions about things that are important to you around human rights?
Because, you know, I am a private person. I am not in any kind of job where I can go and speak to people, but I am an artist. And my art gives me a chance to explain things in whole view. And I do it very much. I have just done it all this last month.
So in fact, give us a couple of ideas about some of the paintings that you've done and the causes or the opinions that you were trying to express in them. You said you just finished something this last month?
It's going to be finished maybe tomorrow or the next day. It is, but I am working in the frame. It is about the right of vote for women.
The right to vote for women, right?
And this year is the 100th anniversary of the work of the vote for women. And so I thought it would be a good idea for me to celebrate it by painting a big painting of that with some opinions written on the frame. Some things that I have heard they were said at the time. And I am glad I have done that, and it's going to be shown very soon.
You know, another painting that has a human rights angle to it, that's actually one of the paintings that is for sale in the online catalog, is a portrait that you did of Malala. Why did Malala inspire you as a subject?
Because she's a woman. She's a woman, and she was born in an Arabic country. I cannot remember exactly which one. And she was. They did things against her, including shooting her, or you know, because he wanted to go to school and learn. And in this place, only men were supposed to go to school and have a career. And she refused to stop. So in the way to school, one time they shot her or stabbed her. I don't remember exactly. So I decided to paint it. I read her story. I like her story, and I think she's a hero.
Yes, and a brave young woman.
Absolutely.
So, Katie, what can you tell us in terms of the comments that we're getting in the chat?
Well, first of all, you guys are so loved.
Aw.
You have people signing in from all corners of the world, including Maggie from Barcelona.
Oh, hi,
Hello,
Maggie.
I love you.
She says she's a hi mom from Barcelona. So that
She's
was
my
really
youngest
exciting.
daughter.
And it's the middle of the night there too.
Yes.
That's amazing. We have Dan Cummings who says the garden looks so beautiful. He wonders if he can actually smell the roses. So that looks wonderful.
Wish you were here, Dan.
And you're getting some encouragement from Sue Martin, who says you both are doing great. And Steve Sheffield said, Pilar, you were just the most charming hostess.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's great to hear from some of our guest artists tonight. Don't forget to check out their work that's available for purchase in the online art catalog via our website in the links. And I want to let you know a couple of things that will be coming up is a live classical guitar performance and a tour inside one of our guest artists' studio. But before we go to that, I'd like to start off by introducing our first guest artist and having you hear from ALBAUGH about some of the art that she has featured in this year's show, Art in Pilar's Garden. Thanks, Anne.
I'm ALBAUGH, and I am a local Utah artist. I live here on the Avenues. I've been here about almost 14 years. I've painted since I was in the 7th grade. Well, I think that my style used to be a lot more conservative because that was the kind of painting that we did, when I first started to paint. And our art instructor through the university was he was obsessed by color. And so I think that I've carried that on, my obsession with having the right colors, and not ever using any kind of acrylic or anything like that. I only paint with oils, I paint on canvas. But I'm becoming more abstract, I think, as time goes on. And I'm obsessed by where we live and how violent it is and how expressive the weather is. We live in a place that's hard to live with. Utah and the West and Wyoming, Arizona, none of that is friendly to human beings. It's all very, very hard. And the people who came here initially, they had a terrible time. And people now are still having a terrible time. When you think about the people that are coming across the border that are trying to make a life that can't. And I find that heartbreaking. And I try and paint that, and it's probably simple-minded of me to even make an attempt, but anyway. It's very hard for me. It's hard for me emotionally. Do you have any other more cheerful questions? But I think especially the guys paint so much weather. I think it's hard to boil it down into small spaces. And I'm actually trying this year. I have 4 12 by 12s that are small, and they're all storm paintings. And so I'm trying to get to be a better small painter. But when you're photographing, especially storms and things like that, it's moving really, really, really fast. And every second things change. The light changes, the color changes. And it's not something that you could ever sit out in and paint into. So you bring it home, you bring the pictures home, and then you create a painting with that more of an inspirational sort of thing rather than making a copy of a photograph. I'm interested in mood. I am interested in what that feels like to be there. And that's where I'm headed.
Wow, that was great. Thank you so much, Anne. And also, I wanted to remind people that what you're seeing tonight is an intimate interview of all 8 of our guest artists. And at the end of their particular appearance on your screen will be a short slideshow of just a preview of the art that they have for sale. And at the end, that's the website address that will take you directly to that online catalog. So with that, Pilar, I wanted to ask you another question, and that's about advice that you have for emerging artists. I know that you like to work with youth quite a bit, and what do you tell them when somebody says, "Oh, I want to grow up and be an artist"?
I just tell them, then do it. Then just don't let anything stop you. It doesn't matter. You look around, and when you get an idea, just follow it. And it doesn't matter if somebody approves of you or not. You just do whatever you think is the right thing that you want to express, and then paint it. And pretty soon you are going to find out, after a few months perhaps of experience, that including the painting is starting to respond to you and tell you where to go.
Oh, interesting. So does your painting usually turn out what you intended when you started it, Pilar?
Absolutely. They turn out what I wanted them to do. But I want also to let the painting telling me, and I approve or not, of what happens. but I am usually happy with every painting that I have done. If I wasn't, I wouldn't keep it.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you may have burned a few canvases in the past, huh?
Not really.
No.
No, but I have reused them. I have eliminated the colors, put another coat, and start again.
That takes some bravery too.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we have been practicing safety around here, and Pilar and I are sitting at least 6 feet away. And how we worked it is we actually have the artists come one by one by one to the garden and be interviewed here. So our next two artists came, oh gosh, I guess maybe that was about a month or so ago, Pilar.
Yes, it
And we were practicing social distancing and keeping it safe. Our first artist that we will see in this next segment is Dan Cummings, followed by PLUMMER. And I want you to pay close attention to Polly's heritage glass, because you have the option of having a personalized message etched into her creation. So let's hear from Dan Cummings and PLUMMER.
My name is Dan Cummings. I'm one of the artists in the Digital Art in the Garden show for the Pilar Pobil Foundation. I studied to be an illustrator, and somewhere along the line I started doing stained glass and really got interested in glass. So what I've done for this show is actually taken 3 different techniques of glass, extending my skill level into areas that I haven't done before. You know, you have those flashes in the middle of the night. It can be a sound, it can be a vision of or a shape of something that I see. Music really inspires me. I rarely sleep because I'm in imagination world and flying through objects that have yet to be made. For some reason, the galaxies and the nebulas speak to me, and I don't even know what they're telling me, but it's something good, right? So for this show, actually exclusively, I started a series. There's going to be 5 pieces called We Are the Divine. And so what I've done here is, this is carved glass, carved into a piece of 1/2-inch crystal with metallic micas in it, and then sandwiched over a metal print. This is a fused piece where I've pulled out of the kiln lines of glass, and then all of this is broken and powdered glass that I've then set into the space and then fired that down to create this look. Shape is an interesting thing. You just change the shape. I mean, it's a fixed shape, but you turn it this way, you get a whole nother feel inside, right? And you know, I don't know how it triggers inside of everybody, but everybody's like, oh, I like it that. So I thought, this is a good opportunity to somebody come buy a piece, but actually it ends up being 4 pieces because they can change it like once a month or whatever when you want. So I've created it to hang in the 4 directions with these Z brackets. So you just slide it up and slide it back down. This piece is created by, I sculpt the image out in clay, pour a castable plaster over the top of that, then I pull the clay out of that, and then I lay in layers of frit. It's like Tibetan sand painting, you know? This is kind of the same thing, but, and what I'm doing is, of course, laying in the deepest areas and layering that out as I go and filling that whole thing up, and then firing it up to about 1,500 degrees. That fuses it all together. In the process, the mold breaks apart, you clean that off, and then I sandblast it and put a glaze over the top of it. So this is a solid piece of glass. This is stone behind it. I thought the earthiness was a good look. And also, you know, this can be hung in 4 different directions.
Hello, I'm Polly Plummer, the stained glass lady at Art and Pilar's Garden for years now, and I'm really honored to have been included pretty much since the beginning. On what I'm showing you tonight, I'm calling heritage glass. It's my traditional leaded beveled stained glass window with a little bit of a twist to it. It has a personalized sentiment engraved in one of the pieces of glass. It could be a date, a name, a passage, a quote, anything that lends significance to you or your family. This particular piece I made for my son Max. Every time he left the house, I'd say, "Be a bright, shiny light." So I incorporated that into his window so that he never forgets me and remembers to be a bright, shiny light. Speaking of bright, shiny lights, Pilar Pobil has been our hostess all these years. She's been such an inspiration to all of us. Please help support the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation. Enjoy all the art, and we hope we'll see you next year in the garden.
Pleased to bring to you tonight a classical guitar performance by Maestro Gabino Flores. Gabino comes to us from the Conservatory National of Music in Mexico City. He's been in Salt Lake City now teaching and playing for nearly 25 years. He was the founder and is the conductor of the Utah Classical Guitar Orchestra and the Youth Classical Guitar Orchestra. He is a board member of the Utah Classical Guitar Society and has had the honor of playing in Light of the Nations, Luz de las Naciones, a worldwide Latter-day Saints program for the last 4 years. We're so honored to have him here with us tonight, live in the garden, Gabino Flores. Boy, that sure put me in the mood for enjoying a beautiful summer evening in a garden and sipping some wine. And hey, that is what I'm doing. So follow me, come along back over here while I sit down with Pilar, and we're going to raise a toast. So everybody, get your glass of wine or your favorite beverage and join with us in this beautiful summer evening. And thank you again for being with us here tonight for Art in Pilar's Garden.
While you're walking over there, Monica, maybe I can tell you some of the comments we've been
Sure,
having.
Katie, what are people saying?
Well, first of all, people loved Gabino's music. It's giving them chills. It was so beautiful. And one of Maggie's favorite pieces, she said. And
Oh, nice.
even though we're not here in person, there's a lot of people commenting on how wonderful it is that this event is taking place in such a safe way. You can meet the artists individually, hear Pilar speak, and people who would normally not be able to attend feel like they're a part of the event. So,
Well, that's wonderful. And in fact, Pilar, we wish everybody was here with us, don't we?
Absolutely.
So, I
We
think
do.
you told me you wanted to raise a glass of wine and give them all a toast. So, shall we?
For all of them that are not here and would like to be with us, we would like to be with you. We do the best we can. To you.
Salud.
To you. Salud.
So, Pilar, I can't help but be amazed by the beauty of the garden, even after this incredible heat wave that we've been having. And obviously, many of your paintings involve nature. Does nature inspire you?
Very much. I sit here and look at things and ideas come to me all the time. It is wonderful. But I mean, this happens wherever you go. I mean, you can go to, recently I went to Idaho by the Snake River. I want to paint the Snake River again because I painted many times before. And this is what I love to do. I love landscapes as much as I love people. I'm lucky that as an artist, I'm not just doing things for of some style. I can go from one subject to another according to where I am and how I'm feeling. And this is what I feel very happy about it, because I can go, as I said, I went to Idaho with friends that have a cabin in Idaho, and now I want to paint it again. And everybody has painted from my other times in Idaho. So I will do it again.
Well, that sounds great. We really enjoy, I know I enjoy, I have a couple of your floral paintings in my dining room at home.
I know.
And in the dead of winter, when it's gray and dreary, they bring so much joy to me and color to my home that I just can't wait for spring again.
Well, you deserve it.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And I want to mention again, if you're just joining us, that if you go to the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation website, which is pilarpobillegacyfoundation.org, you can hit the donate button and help us by bringing you more events and more youth education, more community outreach, as well as you can click on the online art catalog and peruse the fantastic art from our 8 guest artists tonight. In fact, we're going to hear from 2 more of those artists right now, Pilar. We have a new friend and an old friend to introduce next. The first one is MARILYN Reed, and you know MARILYN.
I know her. She's painted here many times in my garden.
Right here in your garden.
In my garden.
Plein air.
Yes.
Excellent. So she's been a longtime friend of you and with the foundation. And now we have a new friend all the way down from Utah County. Let's hear from those Utah County folks and hear from our guest artist, Mark CRENSHAW. But first, MARILYN, take it away.
Hi, I'm MARILYN Reed. I'm in Pilar Pobil's garden for Art in Pilar's garden. I'm from Ogden, and when I started elementary school, I was in a brand new school that was right up near the foothills. So and fortunately back then in those days we had huge windows in all the classrooms, and all my classrooms were facing east, and I got to look at the mountains. And that was a huge distraction. I didn't do too well with my schoolwork, but I studied those mountains every single day, and I think it prepared me to want to paint, because you look at something, its shape and its shadows and the textures of it. So that was kind of the beginnings. And I went to art school for a little while at Weber State, and then I moved to Hawaii, and I graduated from University of Hawaii. And then later I had another degree from University of Utah. So I've taken tons of art classes. I was never a person who liked watery watercolors. A lot of loose painting. I like things kind of constructed. I'm very interested in geometric form. When you paint in watercolor, it's an unforgiving medium. If you make a mistake, you can't paint over it. You can, you're welcome to, but it looks really messy. And watercolor needs to be very crisp and fresh. So after throwing away a lot of paintings because they didn't work out, I decided once to just paint on a separate sheet of paper the color that I needed and wanted, and then trace it and glue it onto the painting. And that began to have its own effect because it had a little bit of three-dimensionality to it. So almost everything I paint has some section, at least, that has been added by cutouts. And then it's been really fun to just take off with that and paint, just do a lot more collage work on top of the painting. But these are they look more like traditional paintings, but when you look close, you can see the cutouts. What I'm the most interested in is shape, and particularly geometric shapes. I like the square blockiness of houses, of mountains, canyons, where you have those steep drop-offs. And I like to have the light falling on that, be falling or disappearing in shadows. That's the part that's the most exciting to paint, where you have gradual, soft, muted light and shadow in the background, and then as you get closer, there's more sharp definitions. I had a lot of fun painting the house. I think it's really very strong, probably very exaggerated, but that's also part of an artist's prerogative. And I think the very flatness of that painting brings out those funny little shapes of the trees, which are trimmed like little topiaries that have gone wild a little bit. So they're kind of strange little shapes that have strange shadows. And that is a nice counterbalance to the flat smoothness of the house surface.
My name is Mark CRENSHAW. I'm a painter. I grew up in Santaquin, Utah. Played in the orchards when I was a kid, and now I paint orchard blossoms a lot of time. I'm inspired by my vegetable garden at home. I always am fascinated by the way the plants grow and how food develops. The agricultural landscape around where I grew up, the cows and sheep, chickens and pigs and things, all things we eat or people eat and use as natural products. I paint in oil. I like to draw with graphite and charcoal, but painting's always in oil. My paintings develop pretty slowly. I think the quickest I've ever finished a painting is maybe a few months, and sometimes they take years. One of the things I find most interesting working over a longer period of time is how the seasons, the colors change that I see every day, and they work themselves into whatever I'm painting, even if it's not in the same season. I mostly use brushes. I use a squeegee occasionally to either remove paint that if I'm unhappy with something, I'll try to remove it with a squeegee. And every once in a while, the artifacts left by that process are interesting too. Most of the time it gets covered up. I know a lot of people don't look at animals as food, or don't like to look at animals as food, but we do. People do eat them, and it's something I hope people will think more about the food they're eating and where it comes from, and that it can be a really intimate way to interact with nature. Because I think sometimes we just think, oh, I'm hungry, this tastes good, and I think it's much more meaningful if you think about how it's a part of nature and a bond between us and the world we live in. So the dairy cows I really love. The black and white pattern that kind of interrupts the form of the animal is really interesting to me. It's challenging to show the effect of light on a black and white surface at the same time, and so that's really fun. And then just green leaves. I'm always amazed by how many different shades of green there are in just a bunch of leaves that are all from the same tree, the effect of light on them. Those are the things that always inspire me. And then also kind of the rhythmic feeling that comes from just a bunch of leaves is always something that gets me excited.
Wow, I just love the variety of art that we have among the 8 guest artists tonight for Art in Pilar's Garden. And that makes me wonder about your own art, Pilar. I have seen you paint with oil, paint with acrylic, use ceramic, and you write.
And watercolor.
And watercolor. So what makes you decide to change from one medium to the next?
Well, for instance, when I am going on a trip, and I want to, I'm sure that I'm going to inspire by the landscapes, it is much easier to take watercolors. And I love watercolor. I always have enjoyed it very much. The thing that makes me do things is that I actually have never taken lessons of any kind. I just try and I do it, But I have been doing watercolor for many, many years. Perhaps were some of the first that I did were watercolors because of this, because I wanted to be in the country and paint. And then I did oil because the oil was what we're been doing at the time. And now I'm doing mainly acrylic, because you really can do many different things and add many different stuff to the acrylics. But I like to do sculptures.
Right.
And I got inspired also many years ago when I was in my grandparents' house. When they were cleaning the ponds in the country, there was mud left out. Mud.
Yeah.
For cleaning the ponds. And they were letting it dry a little before taking it away. And we children were doing small figures. And the wife of the bookkeeper, she was a woman that was doing pottery, cooking pots.
Yes.
And when she saw the best ones that she saw, she fired them. So those were my first ones.
Wow, amazing. That's a fun memory of Spain.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the comments we got is Spain's loss is America's gain. How about that?
And who said that?
Oh.
That was Sean Maury McMillan.
Sean Maury McMillan. Excellent.
Thank you, Sean.
And Pilar, I can't help but notice this beautiful medal that you have on the gold chain hanging around your neck. Tell me about that.
Well, in 2016, all of a sudden, I got news that the King of Spain Felipe VI was considering me the cross of the Royal Order of Isabella Católica, which is a very high.
Prestigious, very prestigious, yeah.
And I was amazed of that. And it was given to me not just for my artwork, but also for the fact that I have been living here in Utah for so many years. And they say that with all the things that I have done for the community of Utah, I have done things that give good name to Spain. And that was one of the things for which he gave me the medal.
Okay.
And this is the medal of the Medalla de la Real Orden de Isabella Católica.
Excellent. It's beautiful. It's quite ornate.
Yes.
And now I hear that makes you a dame,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
In essence, you've been knighted by the King of Spain.
In fact, two of my old friends in Spain, I don't have that many friends in Spain anymore, they are gone. But my two old friends, when they write me a letter, in the envelope they put Excelentísima Señora. They make it such a joke, you know.
Very good. Well, never a more humble dame can be found. You know, it's often mentioned that when you first came to Utah, you had to get busy with establishing your home and raising your children, and you didn't become a serious professional painter until a little bit later in your life. Our next artist followed the same pattern, basically. She went back to school in her 60s to get her fine arts degree, and now is a very accomplished painter. I'd like to introduce you to our next guest artist, Sue Martin.
I'm Sue Martin, and I'm honored to be part of Art in the Garden this year. I moved to Utah in 1995 from the East Coast. I had been doing art in high school, but then I had a career and I raised kids and didn't have time to do much art. But after I moved to Utah, or soon after that, I started taking classes at the U and got back into it. My biggest inspiration is just the paint itself. I love to play with paint. I love to see what I can do with shape and line and texture and color and value. And I just get really excited about that process of playing. But in terms of subject matter, I'm inspired by landscape, I'm inspired by people and still lives, so I do a lot of different subjects and completely abstract. My favorite medium right now is oil and cold wax. The cold wax is a substance that looks like Crisco, and you mix it with the oil paint and it just gives it a little bit more body. And you can build up layers and then you can carve back into it. I love texture, and so that allows me to give the paintings a lot of texture. The painting behind me is one of about 30 paintings I painted from a single photograph I took in Zion National Park. And all of the paintings were slightly different. I would push the color one way or the other, but what I was trying to do was really just capture the essence of that scene, that particular place. And so as I worked on these 30-some paintings, I had to decide, okay, so what is really the most important thing here? Is it the sky shape? Is it the trees? Is it the mountains? And for this particular painting, I created a stencil, and I pushed paint through the stencil to represent the rock formation, the striations in the rock. This series was called Erosion because I was thinking about as I worked on the series, I wasn't looking at the photograph anymore. I was painting from memory, and my memory was eroding, and just like these formations were created by erosion, so that's why I named it that. When I started painting again in about 1998, after we had moved to Salt Lake City, I took lots of different workshops from lots of different people.
But after my mother died in 2007, I realized how short life is, and that if I really wanted to do something, I needed to really get serious about it. So in 2009, I enrolled up at the university in the art program and got my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. In my 60s, I think I was the oldest living student there at the time, but it was great fun.
Thank you, Sue. Lovely art. A little bit later in the show tonight, we'll go inside Pilar's home and get a tour. We'll also have a musical performance by recording artist Monica Pasqual. Pasqual, sorry, excuse me. Thank you. That's Pilar's daughter, so she has the right to make the pronunciation correct.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, Monica Pasqual and some other friends, BZ and Renee, are responsible for the soundtrack behind the artist interviews.
That's right. The wonderful background music you've been hearing tonight in the interviews was also put together by Monica and her very talented friends, BZ.
Blame Sally. Also.
Yes, and
BZ,
of Blame Sally fame. Monica's performance later tonight will be a solo performance. You know, it's kind of unmistakable that we're going as a country through hard times now with the virus and the racial inequality and some of the civil unrest. But Pilar, I've heard you say that you aacually have hope for the future because of the young people.
Absolutely.
Well, tell me about that. How can that be?
Well, I have to remind you that you and I have had an experience together. We went to some of the teenagers from Florida, after that terrible murderous thing in Florida.
Yeah, at the Parkland school.
Parkland school.
Yeah, the school shooting.
And some of those boys and girls came to here, and they made a reunion in that building south of Salt Lake.
Right, I remember going there with you,
and we
Pilar.
went together there.
Yeah.
And there were protesters outside, and there was a lot of people with guns and things like that. And we entered in there, and there was a long line of young people, and they in a stage, and people could ask questions to them, and these young people answered in such a fantastic, well prepared way that it was just give you hope.
Yeah.
You know, and they knew what they were talking about, what they were waiting for the future, and what they wanted for the future. And I also have gone in many schools to give talks about art, and then some of the kids ask me some question, and I always tell myself, I'm not going to be political, but if somebody asks a question, I answered it, and then we talk. And I always get a real good impression of what the young teenagers, and that has happened for many years, so some of them, they are already voting, are going to vote.
Right.
So I hope for the future.
Excellent. I love to hear that. From 93-year-old Pilar Pobil. You heard it here first tonight. Well, next up, we have a special studio tour of Ann Albaugh's studio. And you'll see one of our fantastic board members on the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation, Carla Cantor, take a sneak peek inside Ann's studio and learn about her creative process. So let's go inside.
Okay, hi. This is my home and my studio. Follow me. It's Pride Month. My taste kind of runs a little bit to Diane Arbus up there with the sword swallower. This is Diane Arbus, the photographer. This is Jan Denbutter. That was one of the people that I used to paint with when I was a kid. This is Woman on the Verge. One of my all-time favorites is this woman cleaning toilets in Russia. But this is my studio, if you can call it that. It's a workroom. Everything that I need to work is in here. And that depends on whether or not I'm painting or whether or not I'm making wind chimes or whether or not I'm doing jewelry. This is Blue Sunset, and this is a picture of Mount Superior at Alta, and it's taken facing northwest. Ordinarily, every other picture that I've ever seen of Mount Superior is kind of dead on, and you have the picture of the bowl. This is different. This is looking this way. This one is Isolation, and this is a painting of a storm right outside the Mexican border, right outside of Tombstone.
Tell us about where you're at in the process of this painting and what more you're going to add and why.
Well, I think it's basically just kind of blocked in, and I actually just noticed the other day that I have two suns in here now. I have one sun that's hitting it here, and I have another sun that's hitting it kind of here. So since in this world we really only have one sun, I have to fix that. I need to build the rocks. And the snow is going to be very much leftover snow. It isn't going to be anything new. It's going to be the stuff that's just left in cracks and corners and crevices. I pretty much work with a triad. I work with alizarin, phthalo blue, and yellow orange, and red orange. It's actually phthalo orange. And it's more of and that's the basis of it, is 3 colors.
That's interesting, because it looks like more than 3 colors to me.
With those 3 colors, you can build anything you want.
So there's a lot of mixing of...
Yeah, you have to mix everything.
Yeah, right.
You don't use anything directly out of the tube.
Right. And you change it?
You change it constantly. As long as it's in the house, I could be painting on it.
How do you change it?
Oh, I repaint it. I do different things. I change the colors, I change the angles, I change where the light's coming from, I do everything. This is going to be totally different.
So is there times where you think you have an image in your mind and it turns out the final project's completely different?
Absolutely. That happens all the time. You never know what you're going to get. You never know. Ever. When you start a painting, you never know what it's going to look like or how it's going to end up. You have to know when to stop.
Yeah, well when to stop. Interesting.
And sometimes you don't know that. Sometimes you have to have somebody else tell you, you need to stop.
Wow, that was special to have a sneak peek inside the Ann's studio. A lot of cool stuff up here in the avenues. And who's this?
This is Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. What a sweetheart. The star of the show.
Yes.
Oh, love her. Let's take us now to our next 2 artists, Steve Sheffield and Randy Lyle. Steve has been a long-time volunteer with the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation, and Randy's a fairly new artist for us to introduce you to with some amazing ceramics. So, take it away.
Hi, I'm Steve Sheffield, painter. Been involved with Pilar in the garden show for close to 10 years. You know, I've been painting since high school. I was lucky enough to start on an art scholarship and never thought I'd make a living at it. I got an MBA and promptly decided to paint. So I've been painting for over 25 years. Was president of the Watercolor Society, president of the Western Federation of Watercolor Societies, and but now mostly I paint in acrylic, mostly water-based medium. Well, I am a series painter, and I have several different styles that I paint in. So, and I will go back to different series. Right now, I'm kind of in my Moab series, I'm calling it. I was staying at a friend's place in Moab, right up against the hill, and couldn't sleep one night and watch the sun come up, and the rock turned all these beautiful colors of green and gray and blue, and just anything but the natural color of the rock, and I just fell in love with that. So I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years. I've branched out of Moab to other locales in southern Utah. It's very stylized. I'm not a realist. Even when I'm doing my landscapes, I'll usually pick the shape of the rocks and I'll make the rest of it up. So a lot of my paintings are just out of my head, from memory. So, and abstracts, I just start with a color theme in mind. I'm quite a linear painter. Even my landscapes have a definite horizon, and I love to play with the edges. So I like to move your eye around the paintings. Okay, so here are a few of recent paintings, kind of over here on the fence. Kind of a nice bright abstract to fit in the garden, and 2 of my Moab series, Castle Valley, which I love. I just love the shapes, and I think changing the color of the pieces makes you really focus on the shape of the rock, which I think is the most interesting. Sometimes when you're painting images or as they are, you recognize what they are too fast, and I think the silhouette doing these colors really makes you focus on the wonderful shapes of the rocks. So that's what I'm doing right now, and still loving it.
Hi, my name's Randy Lyle, and I'm a clay artist from Salt Lake City, Utah. Between traveling the world and hanging out with other artists, I manage Red Kiln's studio, and I teach at several local elementary schools specializing in ceramics. Most people who are familiar with my work know me for my fish wall sculptures. I've been making these for about 15 years now, and they started because of my fear of the ocean. I was born and raised in Salt Lake City and didn't make it to the beach till I was a teenager. And I had this thought in my head that the moment I stuck my toe in the water, some crazy fish would come after me. One of my most recent series is called Birds of Prey. It's an owl tenderly holding its kill. These are a collaboration with my pal Monica Pasqual. She makes the dinner and I make the birds. I'm a big fan of music of all sorts. My largest sculpture series are my guitar ladies. I started making these after a breakup with a musician. The first guitar woman was titled The Other Woman. I guess something good did come out of the relationship. Hey, look what I found. My wall sculptures are fitted with a wire in the back, so you can hang them just like you would a painting. My sculptures could be kept outdoors except for winter. We don't want them to freeze. Not only do I make sculptures, but I make functional pottery, like bowls, plates, and especially a lot of mugs. Working with clay is my passion. I hope you can feel it, see it, and I hope my sculptures bring a smile to your face.
Pilar, I just love that, how Steve Sheffield says, I'm still loving it. So what about you? Are you still loving creating art?
Of course I do. I mean, I only want to live while I am doing art.
You only want to live while you are doing art.
Right, you know.
And you're still doing it today,
Yes.
up to this very day.
Yes. Tomorrow I am going to finish the last touches in my last painting. That has been one of the more working time paintings that I have done. Is the suffragettes, because this year on the 18th of August It's the 100 years since women got to vote.
Excellent. And so we all should go out and vote this November.
Absolutely. And this is what I am doing. I have done this painting for.
And
there are several women there. There are, I think, 8 or 9, and they are all different from different social backgrounds and
economics.
Yes,
yeah.
And they are all voting.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it seems like sometimes people take that for granted, and we can't do that anymore. So.
Well, I am an old person, and I know that you never can get anything for granted. So also, I would like to say, since this is in 28 years, this is the first time that we have art in the garden in the computer.
On the internet,
the
yes.
Internet. I have to say that I want to drink for other years to come, where we can all get together, several hundred people in this garden to celebrate art in the garden. And I hope I can be here a few more years to celebrate it.
I'll drink to that. Cheers. Excellent. Well, and in fact, even though we are online this year, and so that's a little bit different, the silver lining in that is that we are able to expand this offering and include anybody in the entire community who wants to tune in, and it's free. So at the very least, if you can't buy art because it's not in your budget right now, could you consider making a donation of $15? That's what the entrance price would have been if you had come to the garden in person. And please mark your calendars for next June, and we will welcome you back. Again, you can purchase art, make donations through the links in the description of the YouTube or through our website, Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation.org. A little bit later, we still have Monica Pasqual coming up, but now a moment that you've all been waiting for, which is to go inside Pilar's fabulous home, and you will see why the foundation was formed to try to preserve this incredible work of art in and of itself.
I am a person that doesn't accept limitations. So anything that goes through my mind that I want to do, that occurs to me, and even if I had not read it in a book or heard of anybody else doing it, if I feel like doing, I am going to do it. This is why I have many different things. This house, when we moved in, it was a very old house. It's 123 years old, this house. Anything that I could conserve that was the original real wood, I kept that, all the things, because I respect antiquities and old wood and things that are already beautiful. But the things that are ugly, I just decide to make them better. All these decorations that are in between of my entrance hall and my dining room, all these green leaves, I was inspired because I miss my island, Mallorca, where I grew up until I came to America. In the past centuries, in many places in Europe and in Asia, they have, when a person that had done some things special, when they died, instead of just burying them in the cemetery or whatever, they would build a burial chamber, and it was always underground, for them. And then they would put in the place some examples of what the person had done, and then the tools that they have used to make those things, so they could go to the ever after and continue their work. I have done so many different things in my life because I have done almost anything that went through my brain, you know. And I just, I have put samples of these things, and I like all these things that represent my life, and that also my memories and the things that I love, and the art, and the past, and the present, you know. And I think it is a good thing for me to have. I just hope that if you are watching this, that you will enjoy it very much, and I will understand the mind of a very old woman who is 93 years old. I still have kind of brain, maybe not as good a brain as others, but it's my style. And I hope also that some of you, when the things get more to normal, that you can come to my house to a real art in the garden, or to visit me, or something. We'll make sure to make some things to compensate over the bad times that we are having right now. So I hope the best for all of you, and don't get the virus. Put a mask.
Welcome back. Wasn't that special? The house is really something to be experienced. If you've never been here before, we invite you to come and take a tour when it's safe to do so. And as Pilar said, put a mask, wear a mask. And in fact, we are so happy to announce tonight that we have some fabulous new merchandise, including Pilar Pobil face masks for sale on the store on our website. Let's take a look at some of the other things that we have offered for sale tonight. And of course, the ambulance is going to come by right as we do this, so I'll just show. All of these are designs from paintings of Pilar. This is a puzzle, Jerry Under the Stars, a beautiful hardbound journal, and tea towels. This plus more and face masks you can now find on the store on our website, the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation.org store. All of those sales also help support the mission of the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation. So Pilar, I would be so honored if you would do something special for me and all of our viewers tonight. In that last segment, you talked about Mallorca and how much you miss Spain. And I know that in addition to being a fabulous painter, sculptor, you're also an incredible writer. And I think you wrote a special poem about Mallorca, didn't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But I also wrote a book that the University of Utah published.
That's right.
That is called. I also wrote a book that the University of Utah printed several years ago. Is almost out of print. It's called My Kitchen Table, and it's stories of my life, from the beginning to the end, and the stories of Mallorca, and stories of people in Mallorca. Mallorca was a very quaint area. I mean, this is years ago, and this is still years ago, but still, you know, even quainter than all other parts of Spain, you know. So, they are fun stories, and I actually got the first prize for the year of the book in the Utah.
The Utah Book Award.
Book Award.
Yeah. Well,
so
let's
I
hear that.
To write.
Yes.
I am still writing, and now I'm writing this same book in Spanish, and I would like to publish it in Spain.
Well,
it would be different, but.
Sorry, excuse me.
No, it's fine.
Would you care to recite your poem about Mallorca for all of us tonight? I would love to hear it.
I love it too.
Okay.
Sola, mirando al cielo, me baño en luz de luna que besa mi cabello, blanco como la espuma de aquel mar azul que está tan lejos. Sola, sin compartir mi vida ni la belleza de la noche clara, que me envuelve en frescura, con rumores del agua que murmura bajo la sombra de los altos olmos. Cerca de las montañas, que fueron extrañas en mi vida joven y que ahora me acompañan, compartiendo mi sueño y mi vigilia, cuando ya nadie más está conmigo. Pero aquel mar azul de mis recuerdos, aquella isla que perdí hace años, existen en el centro de mi alma y vuelvo a verlos rielando en agua a la luz misteriosa de la luna.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Thank you, Pilar.
You understand it?
Well, there are many people watching who will understand it, and I believe that your daughter Monica is also chatting and putting in English translations as you spoke. Speaking of Monica, we are now at one of the highlights of the evening, which is a special piano performance by Pilar's daughter, Monica Pasqual. Filmed in the living room here in Pilar's home and played on the very same grand piano that she grew up with. And Pilar used to say about Monica, what was that?
I was to say about Monica that she grew up under the piano. Because my husband was he was not a professional piano player, but he was a fantastic piano player. And my daughter Monica really loved the music, and she would crawl under the piano when she was a little girl and listen there. And then that was the piano where she started to learn to play, and we realized that she really
had incredible
talent for music. So then we started to take her to other places to learn, first to the university and then private lessons. And
for
she
those,
has been in music ever since.
Yeah. And in fact, she is a professional award-winning musician to this day. She's often known for her work with the band Blame Sally, but she's also had a very successful and storied solo career. Monica Pasqual has won several independent music awards and also 6 Emmys. Most recently, in 2020, her most recent album, You Can't Kill Light, won an Independent Music Award for the Best Adult Contemporary Album of the Year. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy the beautiful sounds of Monica Pasqual.
Hi, I'm Monica Pasqual, and I'm Pilar Pobil's daughter. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We're so glad that we could bring art in Pilar's garden, even if it's remotely.
Held a dream, but we didn't hold fast.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey folks, stay tuned to the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation YouTube channel and check back on our website. Tonight's broadcast is being recorded and we will get it up on our outlets within the next couple of days. I also want to remind you that you can buy art. The online art catalog will be up for several more weeks until September 4th. Also, through our website and through the links in the YouTube description, you will find places where you can donate, purchase this beautiful merchandise, and again, buy art. We sure would love for you to get involved in helping us with our mission. Again, on the website, PilarPobilLegacyFoundation.org, there's some information about volunteering and getting involved with our many programs, our events, our youth education, and our community outreach. We'd love to have you. I'd like to do a special shout out again to this amazing technical crew who has brought you this wonderful evening. Matt Elgren, Hannah Jonatova, Susie Montgomery, Katie Smith, Carla Cantor, and Monica Pasqual. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And thank you viewers for being with us tonight. Pilar?
I want to add my thanks to that. Thank you to all of you that have been involved in this and have done such a wonderful thing. And to all of you that have watched this, I hope you have had a good time, and I hope you look for us again, because we'll be thinking of you. I will never forget how this garden looked other times when I had art in the garden. So I hope that in the future we can do that again when I am alive. I'm a 93-year-old, but I'm healthy, working hard, and very active. So I hope I can do it again, and I hope I will see you again in my garden. Happy coronavirus. I hope you don't get it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, and cheers. Thank you for being with us tonight.
We hope you've enjoyed the live virtual presentation of the 28th Annual Art in Pilar's Garden. Art sales support local artists and the Pilar Pobil Legacy Foundation. Thank you for your support and generosity. You may continue to view and purchase works from the 9 local artists featured tonight online at pilarpobillegacyfoundation.org.